Okay, let's talk about Guts, his sword, and how the size of his sword symbolizes his trauma. So in the first couple episodes of the anime, Guts is seen having these nightmares. In these nightmares, he's a little boy, he's naked, and he's running with his sword, and he's running from like a big monster amongst all these other monsters and skeletons and all these type of things. He's running toward his adoptive father, Gambino, and, he's begging for help, asking for help. Of course, Gambino's like, look, you killed me, remember? And all that kind of stuff. Ultimately, the demon catches Guts and holds him down. And if you watch the anime and read the manga, you know exactly what happened to Guts when he was a young boy. He was essayed by this older man that Gambino sold Guts to for the night. Guts eventually does kill this man, but by that time the damage was already done. This is also why Guts does not like being touched, but not like being touched specifically by men. This is why when he wakes up from that dream and Casca is there, or he realized that Casca was the one next to him, he was like, a woman? Because he wasn't traumatized by a woman, he was traumatized by men. But yeah, in the anime, compared to the movie, it's like he says like, don't touch me, don't ever touch me. But in the anime, he's really big on do not touch me, do not ever touch me, or I'm finna crash out. So bringing that back to the sword. As you can see, one of the big things in Berserk is Guts and his huge sword. It's abnormally big. And when you think about weapons, right, swords are used for long range combat, right? You don't have to be up close and personal with the person. You don't have to have any physical contact with the person to defeat your opponent. And when you think back to Guts' trauma and not wanting to be touched, right, and all of his opponents being men, and this is before he started fighting demons, all of his opponents being men, because when did Guts ever raise his sword to a woman other than when he had to fight Casca? It makes sense why his sword is so long, because he doesn't want to get close to anyone. And of course, some people are going to be like, well, of course he wants to protect his life. Griffith even clocked that T in the anime where he was like, I watched you fight and it doesn't seem like you care about your life. It seems like you're trying to fight to find meaning for your life. And that's exactly it, right? To where when he first saw Guts' first fight and that guy busted Guts' helmet, he was like, you just kept going in to where you literally could have been killed. He said, you care more about victory than you do about your life. So of course Griffith would want to have him on his crew, but that is so true, to where it's as if Guts would rather die than to let somebody have access to him to where they could potentially do that to him again. And you got to think about that time period where that was that. The thing is, people, they're like, why is there so much SA in Berserk? You have to look at the time period as well. There were no rules, right? Men dominated everything. I mean, yes, it's still a patriarchal society that we live in, but back in the day, women were literally just looked at as, like just pieces of meat. I mean, we still are to a certain extent, right? But even just anybody, not even just women, just little boys, men, whatever the case is. But especially if you're a woman, you're more looked at as that. But because Guts have went through that, that's trauma right there. He does not want to get close to anybody. He would rather die, okay? And then just to look at how big the sword is and how hard that would be. He wields it with one hand. How strong, like how much you have to train to get strong enough to do that so that you could protect yourself. It's like a wall that he has built because of that trauma. And then just to note that how over the series, even over the manga, even over the movie, how his sword gets bigger and it gets thicker. And it's, of course, over time he starts fighting demons and things like that. But even before that, it gets bigger, it gets thicker, and it makes you think like, how does that symbolize like with his trust? You get me? So to see this big man with this big sword, everybody's like afraid of him, and as you should be. But what deep down is still that inner child that is wounded, that is hurt, that is crying, that is scared. I have to put up this shield. This is my shield, and don't get close to me because of that traumatizing time. His poor inner child, like that poor baby. Casca hated Guts in the beginning of the series because he basically took her spot. Casca has been fighting so hard to be really seen and acknowledged by Griffith in the way that she was wanting, right? And then Guts comes along and just does that effortlessly. Griffith puts him on that pedestal so effortlessly, and it's just like, it's infuriating. Remember, Casca said that she wanted to be Griffith's sword. When she says that, not only does she want to be around him, right? If Griffith is going to have his empire, he's going to have his kingdom, he's a soldier, right? He's a mercenary, whatever the case is, he's going to be a knight. he always has his sword. So what does that mean? Not only does she want to be like an extension of his being, right? She wants to be an extension of him. She wants to be like a part of him. She wants to be near him all the time. She never wants to be without him. And she wants him to never want to be without her, right? She wants to be something that he always needs, right? She wants to be his right-hand man. She wants to be the one that he turns to first. She's been wanting that for years from him, right? And then Guts comes along. And he does not want anything to do with the Band of the Hawk, okay? But he comes along and he effortlessly becomes that person to Griffith. How infuriating would that be? This is why she hates him, okay? In the very beginning, she can't stand that man. And it's even more infuriating to her because she sees very early on Griffith acting differently with Guts. You have to understand, we're watching this for the first time, and so we're seeing the Guts and Griffith's relationship. I mean, I caught it on, but a lot of people are just like, oh, they're just bros. Griffith acts like this with anybody. But no, Casca was able to clock that. She was like, why is he fighting so hard for him? Why is he risking his life for him? Why is he trusting him to be in charge of stuff on mission so early? Like, what is going on? Like, and why is he being so complimentary to him? Like, what is happening right now? Casca has been watching him for years. She's in love with this man. She's in love with Griffith. So she knows how he walks, how he talks, how he does things. And so she was able to see. Everybody else wasn't able to see. All the other men were not able to see this. But Casca, because she's in love with him and because she's really pays attention to detail, she was able to catch on very quickly that something's going on. This man, Guts, is making Griffith act differently. And so imagine how much more like angry she was when Griffith made her sleep with Guts naked for 2 days. Again, you want to be special to this person. Like, she wants to be special to this person. She wants to feel sacred. She wants to feel spoken for, right? Just for him to bring this stranger along. Mind you, this stranger, Guts, remember, they came at Guts first. I think it was Corcus, whatever his name was, came at Guts first trying to rob him. Guts took out a couple of their men just from self-defense. Griffith didn't care, right? Usually you would think that, he would be loyal to his men in that way and they would take Guts out. Griffith didn't care. So she's like, this stranger that took out some of our men, we don't really know him. We owe him nothing. I'm going to go lay with him. And what did he tell her? He said it's a woman's job to keep a man warm. Imagine how heartbroken she was. That's why she punched Guts when he woke up, and she was yelling at Griffith like, why is this my responsibility? Like, what's going on? And understand, she in that moment also understood that Griffith only saw her as a woman. In that way, just as a woman, not even as a romantic interest, because at least maybe he would feel jealous, or he wouldn't have me do that. But he sees me just as a woman to compliment a man. Ooh, honey. Casca caught on to the fact that Griffith liked Guts, and that's what made her hate being a woman even more. She already didn't like being a woman, being born a woman. She mentions this in that scene where she had got her period. She was, she fainted. They, fell off the cliff. And her and Guts were in that cave, and Guts laid with her naked to keep her warm. And it's kind of like, eye for an eye, like, you did it for me, I'll do it for you. But when she woke up, of course, being a woman in that situation, being passed out and then waking up naked and having a man, sleeping next to you, you think the worst, especially since she was almost, raped before. It makes sense why she was, trying to fight him, this, that, and the third. And then she breaks down and she's crying and she's just like, I didn't ask to be born a woman, because, Guts is like, you woman and all your emotions and da, 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 da. And she's just like, I didn't ask to be born a woman. And when she says this, again, she's crying. Not only is she upset because of the world that she lives in, she's always a target of rape, right, and sexual assault. But she also is just physically not as strong as the men around her. Like, before Guts came along, she was like the second in command, the second strongest one, right? Imagine how hard she had to fight and train to get there. Because physically she was already put at a disadvantage, right? Compared to all these men in the Band of the Hawk. So not only she has to fight just to, be better than these other men, but she also has to fight harder to get respect and be seen as like an equal and not just a woman. Again, going back to that comment that, Griffith made when he ordered her to lay with Guts for those 2 days. He said it's a woman's job to keep a man warm. Again, she was hurt in that moment too, because it's like, again, even though I fought this hard to be this strong, to be, right next to you in that sense, I'm still just a woman to you. You know, and so I'm going to be still seen as a woman and used as a woman in that sense. But let's take it a step further. I would also even say that in that moment, because again, that's the time where she was like, it was always you, Guts. It was always you. You're the reason why Griffith acts the way he does. You make him illogical, irrational. He doesn't think straight around you. He's just not himself as soon as you came around. And that's when it clicked for Guts, like, what? But in that moment, she's crying. And again, I would take it a step further to be like, you know, she's even upset the fact that the man that she loves and has been in love with, she has noticed that he has taken interest in Guts, a man. So even then, it doesn't matter what she does, she's still not going to catch his eye because she's not even a man. And the one that she loves doesn't even like women, let alone like her. Okay? I personally think that Griffith may be bisexual. But the point of the matter is, what we've been seeing, okay, or what we've been shown is that he was interested in Guts in a way that he's never been interested in anybody else before. It goes beyond using him as a pawn. It goes beyond using him as a stepping stone to get to what he wants. It goes beyond that, right? And Casca saw that. She saw it from the beginning. And I think it makes it even more heartbreaking, that monologue that she does, where it's just like, I just know if she could turn herself into a man, okay, she would. I feel like she would. Not even just for Griffith, just to even survive in that world, okay, in that time era better, but also to catch his eye. I feel like she knew that she would have a better chance of being a man, okay? Because she's the only woman in the camp. So it's like she's serving herself on this silver platter for him, and he shows no interest. That's another reason why I never understood why people be like, oh, Griffith was in love with Casca. He never showed any interest in Casca for Casca in that way. He's never showed any genuine, like, romantic love for Casca like that. So yeah, and she even knows that. So it's really heartbreaking. Like, she was going through it. She definitely was going through it. If you only watched the anime and didn't read the manga or watch the movies, then it makes sense why you missed the fact that Griffith was interested in Guts from the very beginning. In the anime, it was more about Guts being a good addition to the Band of the Hawk rather than Griffith wanting Guts, you know, like wanting Guts. In the anime, Griffith was like, you know, join us, Guts. I'm going to have my own kingdom and you are going to be, you know, a huge asset to that. He also, you know, explained that while watching Guts fight, he understood that Guts didn't really care about his life. He cares more about victory than his own life. And of course, Griffith would want somebody like that on his team. And then they fought it out, and Guts was like, what if, Griffith was like, what if you lose? And Guts was like, you can do whatever you want with me, or you can have me in any way, whatever. And Griffith was like, okay, very well then. And he won, and he grabbed his face, said, I will have what I want. But in the movies, okay, it was very queer-coded, and that's okay? But I feel like everything's done intentionally, right? And the main reason I feel like this happens is because, you know, you only have 3 movies. You have to kind of get to it very quickly. Compared to you have a whole anime, you can stretch things out and, you know, sprinkle things in slowly, right? But when you have a movie, you're like, look, we don't got time for that. You need to know this man want this man. In the movie, Griffith was, you know, was saying, I want you, Guts, and Guts was like, oh, so you want me in that way? And literally, he just changed the subject, like he just laughed. The same thing happens in the manga, but actually in the manga, Guts is a little bit more straightforward. He's like, are you a homosexual? A homosexual. And what does Griffith do? He changed the subject again. So it makes sense that people who only watch the anime are like, no, from the very beginning, he only saw him as a pawn. It makes complete sense why you think that, because, yeah, you probably only watched the anime. You didn't watch the movies, you didn't read the manga. So, and who knows, some people probably didn't even finish the anime. So when I say when they met, when it was easy to see right off the bat when they met, I'm not talking about just the anime. I'm talking about the manga and also the movies as well. Because you got to remember, even in the movies, he was talking about, okay, after when they do the fight, Guts was like, okay, if I lose, you can have me or my ass or whatever. And Griffith smiled. He smiled. All right. So again, this is why other people, if you just watch the anime, why everybody else understands that Griffith wanted Guts from the get-go. So that's why I say watch everything, read everything before going so hard, right? And just see that there's differences. And again, I'm not saying that people who are like, oh, he's just using him as a pawn or he sees him as a weapon. I'm not saying you're wrong. Two things can be true at once, right? Because even in the anime, again, another reason why I understand why y'all say this is because in the anime, when he first is, Griffith is first is watching Guts fight that other person, he's holding his Baylin. He's looking at him, he's holding his Baylin. So again, contemplating on, wow, if I had this man on my team, what can we accomplish, right? And again, not saying that he, even in the manga and in the movies, he wasn't thinking like that as well. But I'm just saying, in the anime in that time, it really, in the beginning of the anime, it really wasn't showing very obviously all the other feelings that were there, okay? And me, I look at the manga as, that's the canon stuff. So if it's in the manga, okay, if they drop a hint like that in the early on in the manga, that's what it is, right? So yeah, just note that we're having different experiences based off of what we're watching of Berserk.
In spite of it all, why does Griffith value you so much?
And that's the question she's been asking for this whole damn series.
Why?
Okay, let's see. Look, he's asking why. The wind is blowing, the leaves are flying.
We ended this discussion, and 3 years ago at that.
The hair is swaying, honey. Look.
There's no reason in particular.
No reason why I saved you for real. And let's pause that real quick, because again, remember last time he said, why did you save me in the very beginning? He said, oh, you know, I don't want your talent to go to waste. Why would I let you get killed so early? Now, 3 years in, he talking about, do I really need a reason? Oh, there really is no reason now. Now it's mucky. Now there's feelings involved, honey.
No reason in particular.
Okay, now there's no reason. He's confused.
Do you really need one? Will you always be left doubting me?
Oh?
When I lay down my life for you?
Lay down my life, honey. He like, what? And look, eye contact. Oh, shit. Look, this a moment. This a moment. The wind blowing. These will basically be the cherry blossoms, honey.
It's just...
Look, he don't know what the hell to say. And then they mess up their moment. Remember when Griffith went to go save Guts when Zod was tearing everybody up? It's funny because Kafka like, I'm so sick of this shit. And it's like, mind you, I can't show the other panels because I don't want the video to be taken down, okay? It's graphic. But Zod was tearing the Band of the Hawks every which way but loose, honey, okay? Hundreds of men. It seemed like it was probably over 100 men that already got killed, okay? And they didn't care. They letting them just go. But then when it come to Guts, he told Casca and them to retreat. Everyone retreat. She like, here we go. Here we go again. Okay, he choosing Guts over everybody else. Then she's like, he really about to go and risk his life for this man. After we already done lost so many people. Sometimes you gotta just keep it pushing. But no, that's not the case with Griffith and Guts, honey. He look, you feel me? Like, can you stand this, that, and the third? Like, that's his dude for real. At least he want him to be. Guts is just there. He don't look at Griffith that way. But you feel me? Like, Casca was peeping it the whole time. And I know she was just tired. Look at her face. She's tired. And this is my thing. If a big monster that was tearing us every which way but loose sees this on my friend's neck, and then he talking about if this is your friend, you're going to meet your death and you can't escape, and then he retreats. Oh honey, we're not gonna be friends no more. I don't care how long we've been friends for. This is a whole demon. Talking about if you call that man your friend, okay, for when this man's dream comes crashing down, okay, you're gonna face your death and you can't escape. And then he leaves. Huh? Absolutely not. And then here go Casca. It's all your fault. Da-da-da. It's like, girl, Griffith is a grown man. He can make his own decisions. It's not my fault that he want me and not you. I don't even want him like that. Guts don't even want Griffith like that. You need to take this up with your man. Like, this remind me of like when a girl has a boyfriend, but he keep on messing with a side chick or something. And then the girl gets mad at the side chick. It's like, girl, that's your man. He's in a relationship with you. You should be talking to him about that. He can make his own decisions, honey. Like, get it together. Okay, so this is that iconic scene where it was kind of obvious, at least for me, that Griffith was kind of trying to let Guts know, okay, like, I don't need a reason to help you. Like, I like you. Like, that's just, you feeling like it's that sound like you don't need to ask for that. It comes with the package. And I feel like it's even more obvious because in the manga, Griffith is drawn to be, very feminine. Okay, he looks like he's wearing lipstick. Like, he has a very feminine face. And of course, even in the anime, it shows that. But again, the manga makes it very clear to where I feel like people would see this much easier if Griffith was a girl, okay, or if Gus was a girl. I just feel like there would be no confusion. But just like how Gus said, he was like, okay, back in the day, you said you didn't want to lose one good soldier. It's like, look, people die every day, and you don't seem to care about that because it's all for the kingdom, right? But when it comes to me being one soldier, it's a different story. And he's like, you keep bringing this up. Like, I think he felt like, Griffith like, boy, it's been 3 years. Like, why are we still bringing this up? You should already know. You feel me? I feel like he's even seeing like, Guts, he's so innocent. You feel me? And I feel like that's another reason why he didn't just up and come out and, say this and say that. Because, for one, Griffith is probably still figuring out his feelings, right? For one. But for two, he understands that Guts is not on that type of time. I feel like earlier on, I did another video about it when they were frolicking in the water. I feel like that was Griffith's way of being like, let me see, how he's going to take this, if he's interested or not. And then he saw Guts did not catch on. And so he's like, oh, okay. Okay, I guess we'll frolic in the water innocently or whatever the case is, but he's not opposed to it because he's still frolicked in the water with me while I was completely naked. You feel me? So again, he's just like, oh, you keep bringing up this topic. Okay, there's no reason at all, right? Is it necessary? Do I have to always have a reason? Do I have to always have a logical, rational reason to do what I do? Because again, as we know, as those feelings get involved, we get real irrational, okay? We get real irrational. He's like, do I need a reason for that? Why can't I just care for you? Why can't I just do stuff for you? Like, and mind you, these are big things. He's risking his life for Guts, but he's like, why can't I just do that? Why does it have to be an explanation? Again, because if we're looking at things like, oh, they're supposed to just be bros, it's kind of like, bro, like, why are you risking your life for me? You feel me? You don't risk your life for everybody else. Why are you doing it for me if we're just bros? Exactly. And then he does this, okay, that smolder, that look, okay, again, you see the cherry blossom or the little leaf in the air, okay, the hair is blowing. Look, Guts don't know what the hell going on. He like, no, I guess you don't need a reason. I'm confused, my dude. Like, why are you risking your life for me? Like, what's really going on? Like, I'm confused. He's confused. He just want a friend. He just want to be loved. He just want a friend. But he don't want to be loved in that way. You feel me? Like, he just really, Guts is actually really innocent. He comes off really hardcore because he has to be, right? He has to put up that wall to protect himself because of what he's gone through. But he's still like a little boy, okay? Griffith is different, right? He's more mature in those ways. He knows, like, they both know how the world works in different ways, but Griffith is okay with exploiting himself to get what he needs to get what he wants to get, compared to Guts, who has been abused in that way to where it's like, he's not interested in really doing that. He'd rather risk himself, his life, right, than to ever put himself in the type of situations that Griffith is okay with putting himself in to get what he wants. Guts is trying to still find his will to live. Not his will to live. He's trying to find out why, like, what's the meaning of life a lot of the times. That's why when this whole thing of like, oh, you got to find your own dream, a lot of times he didn't even know why he was fighting for real. He just knew he was going to fight. You get me? So it's like, this is crazy. But yeah, you cannot tell me that this was just bros. Oh, that he just saw him as a tool. That's why he looking at him like that. Like, no. Two things can be true at once, but that is not only what this is. Okay, so this part is important to note, right? Because he's reminiscing now on the fact where he was like, do I need a reason to risk my life for you, okay? And basically, this is where the miscommunication is, or this is where the disconnect is, because now Guts is like, what? He did it for me? Like, oh, wow, like, okay, he cares for me, And so I'm going to go ahead and wield this sword, but I'm going to do it for him. But again, Guts is thinking about it as, I'm doing it for a friend. I'm doing it for an equal. You get me? Like, I'm doing it for, like, we were bros, you feel me? Compared to what Griffith meant, it was something else, okay? It was something else. And this is where I think the fandom is getting stuff mixed up, because I think they're solely because Guts is not looking at Griffith that way, they think that Griffith is not looking at Guts that way, and that's not the case. But yeah, that's where that disconnect is happening. And it's really sad because Guts really just wants a friend. You feel me? Like, he's been fighting dudes all his life, ever since he was a young boy. And he finally has somebody who's strong, who can actually beat him in a fight, who he actually can look up to and respect. He finally feels like he found a friend. But that's not how Griffith is looking at him, which is sad. And it's just so sad because Casca not only had to see Griffith, like, catch feelings for Guts, okay, in front of her, but she also had to see him flirting with the princess and them making little noises on leaves and shit. Like, look at Casca's face, bro. She's like... and then she looks so deflated. Oh my goodness. Sis was going through it, honey. And it's just so sad seeing Casca go through the motions, because Casca over here being like, okay, she's just worried about him after he got hit with that arrow. He's like, calm down, it's okay, it's okay. Here come the princess start crying. And Casca like, ho, is you cool? Like, hold on. When did they get so close to where she crying over him? Like, what is going on? She like, here's another hoe I have to worry about. Okay, so here's another time Griffith is trying to drop hints for Guts. But he know his man's slow, so he like, okay, we gonna ease into it. Do y'all remember that he was talking about, oh yeah, I read all these books, and there's some strange ones in here, like makeup and cooking, and you know, Guts is like, you know. And I can't show this part because I don't want it to get messed up, but basically he said, oh, and there's some like this, and he's showing Guts, and it's people, I forgot if it's called the Kama Sutra, or it's the book with all the sex positions, honey. And he's like, what are you gonna do? He literally looking and waiting for Guts' response, and Guts is just like, okay. And again, he just completely is not aware. He's just like, okay, so what did you want really? Again, here he go, just like, okay, I guess back to business, because again, he's still not getting it. It's like, are y'all not reading the same manga? Like, why would he show him that? And again, just to be clear, when Griffith said, you know, but half of it is because I'm actually interested in these books too, right? Because he said when you get higher, you know, up the ladder, you gotta start, it's not all about just fighting. So he's talking about history, religion, science, and the arts, but there are some strange ones like makeup and cooking, etc. Again, letting Guts know these are some things that he's interested in, right? And he's just like, because again, Guts is thinking of it as bros type stuff, like, yeah, I wouldn't really read that. Like, that sounds boring. Compared to Griffith kind of trying to slowly let him know, like, hey, these are some of the things I'm into. But again, it's just going completely over his scalp, honey. And yeah, so again, you guys gotta really read between the lines here.